Joseph Parker retains his WBO heavyweight belt. One judge had it a draw, 114-114. Overruled by two judges who had it 118-110 in favour of Joseph Parker. First and foremost, regular viewers will know I picked Hughie Fury to win this fight. I was extremely confident of the Fury win, and my confidence in Fury winning the fight was not something that was just something I held in the lead up to the fight. But those guys who follow me on Twitter will know that during the fight I had Fury ahead. And at certain spells in this fight I had Fury very substantially ahead. On my scorecard, and I'll be completely honest, I won't change it because the result is different to how I scored it. On my scorecard I had Hughie Fury winning this fight by 8 rounds to 4. 116 to 112 in favour of Hughie Fury. I was actually very surprised because I didn't see this as an overly complex fight to score. I saw this, in my naivety, as a relatively easy fight to score. So I was actually really surprised as I was putting out my scores on Twitter how many people were disagreeing with me. I think after 8 rounds I had Fury ahead by miles. You know, I thought Parker's best spell in the fight was the last portion of the fight, if I'm honest. So I had Fury ahead by miles after 8. And people were saying they had Parker up, people were saying they had it a draw. So my scorecard was absolutely miles out from what the judges had it. Anyway, we'll talk more about the scoring later on in the video, perhaps. So let's start with the fight itself. I scored the first 4 rounds to Hughie Fury. For me, the first round Joseph Parker won was round number 5. The first 4 rounds were, for me, a battle of the jabs, like a bit of a boxing match, if you want. And I thought Hughie Fury looked absolutely exceptional. I thought he looked like a different gravy, different class in those first 4 rounds. He was switching the way he was moving left, moving right. His feints were on point. He was getting a jab working. I thought he was definitely outworking Joe Parker behind the jab. Parker's trainer was calling for the double jab, pleading with Parker to throw the double jab. And for me, Parker was really struggling to find the distance against Hughie Fury. He was really struggling to get his own jab off. And I felt incorrectly that Parker was being outworked and that Parker was not landing anything. You know, I look back at that fight and just do not see the punches landing from Joseph Parker. From about round 5 onwards, for me, Parker changed up his game plan. And I give him some credit to that. You know, I always like it when a fighter mixes up what they do mid-fight. And I'm going to give Parker credit for that. Round 5, he seemed to take a more aggressive action and seemed to try and rush Hughie Fury and charge in on Hughie Fury. And he did that with some success. In round 5, I thought he out-hustled Hughie Fury. I thought he brought a lot more energy and pace. But into the middle rounds, so round 6, 7, 8, I thought Hughie was timing him very, very nicely. I thought Parker was charging in like a bull on a china shop. I thought Hughie was judging the distance well and countering Parker effectively. I thought Hughie was throwing a fantastic counter uppercut. I thought Hughie was sidestepping and throwing a really, really good counter cross. And all in all, I thought Hughie was timing him very well. I thought the fight was very, very wide in Hughie Fury's favour after 8. In fact, I probably had Parker needing a knockout after round 8. I thought Parker did well in the last quarter of the fight. I think in the last 4 rounds, Parker did very well. I thought Hughie became quite one-paced, and I thought Parker went through the gears and brought more action, and that led me to a final scorecard of 8 rounds to 4. There are going to be some comparisons between the Golovkin-Canelo fight and this fight because in many ways the fight took the sort of example of Joseph Parker as the front foot fighter, Hughie Fury on the back foot fighter. Now, detractors of Hughie Fury could say that he was very negative and that he was very dull, and both of those are potentially valid points. However, whilst they are valid points, they didn't necessarily affect the way that I was scoring it. They clearly did affect the way other people were scoring it. I thought Hughie Fury was landing more work. I just thought that he was able to be very elusive. You know, I thought his footwork and his upper body movement and his speed meant that he was very, very elusive. And I felt that Joseph Parker was simply unable to corner him down and get off enough work. Parker did have flurries. He had eye-catching, explosive flurries. But when you watch those flurries, if you watch them back on slow-mo, there's actually not necessarily a huge amount of punches that are landing from Joseph Parker. I really felt that Hughie Fury was countering him and timing him well. But clearly, Hughie's fought this fight too negatively, and it's allowed the judges to take it away from him. And Parker's aggression and Parker's come-forward approach has, to his credit, worked for him and given him immense credit from the judges. You know, Hughie didn't go through the gears in this fight. He didn't look to get Joseph Parker out of there. He didn't look to hurt Joseph Parker. He simply looked to sort of get through the fight in a sort of sparring partner mode. And when he thought he was ahead, I thought he was ahead, he simply sort of drifted and he didn't press home any advantage that he did have. And it's cost him dramatically. How two of the judges have scored Hughie Fury 2 rounds in this fight, I do not know. I cannot see how they've only scored him 2 rounds. If I'm honest, when the scorecards were read out, my first thought was that it was a mistake and that those were scorecards in Hughie's favour. That was my first thought. I cannot fathom how Joseph Parker has won 10 rounds of this fight. For me, there were whole rounds where Hughie just completely dictated the fight with reins, with jab, and where Parker landed nothing. It's going to sound like sour grapes because I picked Hughie to win and I thought Hughie was going to win, and Hughie's the British fighter. And I'm sure I get accusations of being biased, etc. But I don't care. My honest opinion is that Hughie Fury won that fight. And if I'm honest, I didn't see it as a close fight, and I didn't see it as an overly complex fight to score. I thought the first 4 rounds were quite easy Hughie Fury rounds. So how the judges have scored only 2 of the entire 12 rounds to Hughie Fury absolutely boggles my mind, you know. But this is a case of the front foot fighter winning. It's a case of the guy who looked to make the fight and to bring the heat winning. And I guess some credit goes to Joe Parker for that. You know, Parker, he did look to make the action. He was the more proactive guy in there. He was the one looking to bring the heat. And Hughie was very one-paced. He was very negative. I felt he'd got into a comfort zone that he was going to look to maintain, and that he successfully maintained. But clearly the judges disagreed dramatically. I'm very interested to see what the feedback to this fight is. You know, because I'd be really interested to know if people are outraged about this scoring and if this is going to be the next big scoring controversy in boxing. Or if, you know, maybe I've just read this fight completely wrongly. Clearly it's going to be one of these fights I have to watch again. And I'm not looking forward to that because it wasn't the most exciting fight in the world. It wasn't the most action-packed fight. But I just didn't see it the way the judges did. I thought Hughie was the one who landed the better work. I thought Hughie was the one who landed the higher quantity, and I thought Hughie was the one who controlled the fight. I thought it was very elusive. I just didn't think Parker landed that much work, but perhaps I need my eyes testing. I don't know. Credit to Joseph Parker. He's built up a very good resume now for the age 25. He's got a victory over Hughie Fury, Carlos Takam, Andy Ruiz. He's defended his world title. He's come over here against all odds and defended his title away from home in a hostile environment. I've always liked Joseph Parker. I've been covering him on this channel for 3 or 4 years. He's been a fighter I've really enjoyed watching, and he's been a fighter whose success I've enjoyed. Credit to Joseph Parker. But I just didn't see the fight the same way the judges is, really. And, you know, there's a struggle for me to say much more than that. I thought that was a great performance from Hughie. And I thought Hughie was going to throw his hat right into the top of the heavyweight ranks. And I think based on that style, he's going to be a very, very hard guy to beat because he's so hard to hit and he's so hard to catch. But Hughie's got beat. And he's got beat on that performance, which I thought was his career best performance. I guess it's a message to all fighters that even if you think you're ahead, even if you think you're miles ahead, you cannot afford just to sit on the back foot and coast. Because whether you deserve to win or not, you give your judges the chance to take it away from you if you're negative and if you're not pushing the pace. Anyway, guys, as you can probably tell, I'm a bit lost for words. I think I need to go to the doctors to get my head checked. Try and be kind to me because I'm not sure I'm not sure I've got the mental fortitude to take it. But leave your comments in the section below. Hit the thumbs up button to support the channel. Do subscribe if you haven't done so before. Many thanks for tuning in, and congratulations to all the Joseph Parker fans out there. Well done for supporting your man.